Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's episode number 245 of the Audible Farm Podcast, and this episode is brought to you by the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. Go to www.fdfineartsassociation.org to find out more about what they got going on. You have to check out FDT. We were hosting episodes of FDT on our podcast channel for a while, and people like it. People like it so much, it's got to have its own channel. So it's over on its own channel now. New episodes will be over there. I will set another reminder and make sure to let you guys know, because you don't want to miss out on the next episode. We already recorded it. It's amazing. It's so fun. It's just such a fun vibe on that podcast. So make sure you check that out. If you haven't watched an episode or listened to an episode of FDT yet, check it out. Like I said, they have their own channel. You can find it. You just have to search FDTEA, and it's right there. FDT, Fort Dodge Thoughtful Exchange About the Arts. Thanks, Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. This episode, I'm sitting down with Vince Benyshek. Vince, I've known him for a while. He's a fun guy. He's been playing guitar for quite a while, too. I still remember when we go back and listen to the first episode. It's funny because it's like when he was first starting, he'd be like, yeah, I could play guitar. Yeah. I mean, I can. I could go play guitar. And then he started like going out and actually doing it. And now he's just playing all over the place, doing all sorts of stuff. He's playing bass, and it's so cool. He's playing with Molly Nova. I think that's who he said he plays bass with them. But dude, it's insane to just think about like I've been playing music long enough and been around long enough to like watch people grow and become good musicians. It's weird. I guess I feel like I'm getting old. All right, enough pontificating. Let's get into the episode. It's episode 245 with my buddy Vince Benyshek.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
Sitting down today with Vince Benyshek. You've been on the podcast before, man.
Been a while.
It has been a while. So actually, I brought some stuff with. I'm doing some research, people. Look out. So you were on episode 24, which is in 2019, February of 2019.
Jeez.
We were both at Iowa Central at that time.
Seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, but it really like also seems like it was just yesterday though too. Like it really doesn't seem like it was that long ago. But it's like, oh yeah, that was forever ago. But otherwise, episode 46, episode 103. We're talking 2019. You did 2020. One of those, I don't remember which one. We ended up going to go see the grave of
Glenn Buxton.
That was like a fun one, a little on the road action. So that was pretty cool. Otherwise, you were on an episode in 2022 and another one in 2022, 179 and 204. And we can't forget Vinny and the Night Prowlers were on an episode, and that was in 2021, episode 133. So you've been on 6 episodes total.
Nice.
Up until now. So, but it has been a while since you've been on the podcast. It's been since 2022. So it's been like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, let's just go basic rundown of like a recap of all the previous stuff. So like, who are you and where you're from and what's the deal?
Well, my name's Vinny, for all that don't know me. No, I guess I'm originally from Eastern Iowa, but live up this way now, as in this way by Fort Dodge. Me and Pete went to school together, met Pete at school.
Yeah.
I think we started kind of talking a little more because one week he decides to wear like a t-shirt from a concert like each day that he had been to. And by about like that Wednesday, I was like, hey, man, nice fucking Iron Maiden shirt.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, thanks, dude. You've been wearing my concert t-shirt. I said, yeah, you wore a Seeger shirt yesterday, too.
Yeah.
He was like, I was waiting for people to, if anybody would see, that's what I was doing. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's a good way to gauge people. Like, you just wear the bands that you like on your chest while you're walking around. And like I had at that point in time had so many different shirts. So it was
fuck.
I'm walking around, like you said, from like everything from Bob Seger to Iron Maiden. It's like, oh, I got a Uriah Heep shirt on today. And people are just looking at you like, who
the fuck is that?
Who is this guy? But if somebody bites, it's like, all right, here we go. And that's basically how we kind of became friends and stuff. We went to a jam.
Yep. Bode.
Yep, the Jam and Bode. That was the first time we ever played music together. We kind of just went up there to goof around, and yeah, that was pretty fun actually.
The Red Lantern.
Yes, but I also recall, through the years, like you had like played in a band, Vinny and the Night Prowlers. That was something that you started. Are you guys still playing shows?
Yeah, here and there. I want to say a couple of years ago, I kind of got, it was like a summer where I got burnt out playing in 2 bands and going a lot. So I think that was 23. Mm-hmm. Last year, we played a little bit here and there. This year, I don't really have much on the books, but we're just going to play a couple shows, playing a couple parties for sure, too.
Oh, yeah.
But
at private parties, sometimes the best shows to play.
Yeah, those are fun. Man, people who like to rock and roll, too, So we always usually play a couple parties around the 4th of July. Mm-hmm. And those are always a blast,
Yeah.
People partying hard, but yeah,
oh, my gosh. I'm just thinking back to... Okay, so like this question I was going to ask you way later, but funny things that happened at shows. Here's one. Like I remember like seeing a guy in a America thong, like with a giant mustache and a mullet, like slam a beer and then like spike it off the ground. And was just like, yeah, America. And just like ran away, and it was like right in front of the stage while we were playing at a private party. I'm like, this is wild.
Yeah,
all right,
fuck yeah.
4th of July, baby.
I love the 4th of July.
Yep.
Independence Day, man, my favorite holiday.
Freaking good stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a good time of year to be playing shows. I mean,
yeah.
But I've never really seen much too wild go on at shows. But it's been people getting drunk as hell. You always see something funny.
Yeah, yeah.
God, I got heckled by this drunk guy one time. I'll get to that, but that wasn't at a party or nothing. That was kind of early on, but we were starting to play better. I was getting good at that time finally, and I wouldn't even consider myself that good anyway, but yeah, gosh. No, I don't know. Back to what I was saying though, like, I kind of got burnt out. Like I feel like every weekend of 2023, mm-hmm. and I was traveling for work at the time still.
Yeah.
And man, just gone all the time. I figured I put on like 40,000 miles that year.
Yeah. It's a lot. Yeah.
And yeah, when I was doing my taxes, that's what I kind of figured up. I said, I didn't think there was any fucking way.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I spent a lot of money too, and I when I figured out how much money I'd lost that year, I was like, man, I'll come out ahead finally. Mm-hmm. No, I lost my ass.
Dude, that's my favorite thing ever, when you sit down and you actually figure it all out. When you're like, well, driving plus meals plus rehearsals plus... Yeah. And then you're like, oh... I feel like Napoleon Dynamite, where he's just like counting change. He's like, it's like $1 an hour. Like, just like, what are we doing here?
Oh, dude. And it just... That's when I decided, man, I really just want to take some time, and mm-hmm. live my life a little bit besides just dedicating myself to one thing, or whatever. And I did that, and still played with Molly Nova, and that's another band. That's a new thing I've never talked about on the podcast, because in 23 is when I joined that band, like early on. I'm actually wearing a Molly Nova shirt today.
Oh, perfect.
Figured I'd
nice.
bust that out, wearing the Night Prowler jacket.
Yeah,
I want to show it all
awesome.
off.
Yeah, I had to try my best. I was like, I'm not going to wear the Vinny shirt or the Vinny hat. Like, I was going to do it, and I was like, I'm not going to do it. Like,
yeah, but no, like I said, we got that jacket. I'll have to bring it out and show it to the video here in a little bit. But
yeah,
no, I just got she actually just gave me this shirt last weekend at a rehearsal. They had them done, and they had a couple different kinds, like black and gold with gold, on them, kind of like this, but the shirt was black. I said, well, I have, like, all of my band T-shirts are black. Mm-hmm. I was like, my only other purple shirt I have is a Tommy Bolin shirt. Yeah. And so I was like, I'll take the purple.
That's awesome.
But, yeah, so that's a really fun band to play in, too. I joined them in 23, and we played a decent amount of gigs, and they're pretty decently known, I would say. They have a good following.
How'd you join up with them?
Gosh, that was crazy. I was playing this gig like fall of 22, and this guy named Jeff, who works with them pretty closely with media stuff, saw me playing, at this place called Checkers in Cedar Rapids. They had this outdoor deal, and night Prowlers were playing and jamming, and they were looking for a guitar player at the time. And at that point, I was in another band as well, country band that I'm no longer in. But so Turk calls me. Turk Kraus is a drummer, and like gets a hold of me somehow. I can't remember how that really worked out. I think he got my number. Probably gave my number to Jeff or something, and his buddy, and he calls me, and I call him back. We get to talking, and I said, man, well, we heard you're, rocker, and this and that, and we want, a guy like you in our band, and why don't you take a look at our music and this and that, because we play mainly originals, and it's an all original show for the most part. I mean, we do some covers, but which is really fun about that. That's one thing I always wanted to do. I just want to be in like an all original band. That's one thing about, like, I do the covers and stuff. My band does covers, but we really like to play our original music. Like if I can get those gigs where we're playing, an hour and a half, set and in a lineup, I honestly take less money, especially because most of the time those gigs I don't have to set up sound or anything. I just plug in, and plug my shit in and go. And but it's like we can play a lot of original material in that time, and I don't have to do the cover. I only can do the covers that I have time for, and the ones I really want to fucking play. But no, back to Molly's deal. And Turk, I was on the phone with him. I said, well, I'm pretty busy at the moment. Goes in, a couple weeks go by, and he goes, well, I want to have you down and like rehearse you or something if you've gone over. I went over a little bit of it. And I was like, well, I can't that week. I'm going to Nashville, see some buddies, And he said, okay, well, I get back. He's like, we're rehearsing another guy too, a couple other guys. So no big deal, whatever. And I get back. He calls me about a month later. It's like, well, we've got a guy. So don't have to worry about it, and this and that, whatever. And I said, well, I play bass too, man. So if you need any, if you do want to give me a call sometime, go ahead. And so like a couple months after this goes by, they were looking for a bass player. So he calls me. And because like my job in that band, I do actually play some rhythm guitar too. And they wanted somebody who could be solid on both, like play a good rhythm. I play a little bit of lead, but not much at all. And if Evan listens to this, mostly because you're way better than me, dude. But he called me, and the guitar player they hired, this dude named Evan Stock from Cedar Rapids. He's got this band called Evan Stock Band. He does a lot of stuff, music in town. One of the biggest music dudes in town. A lot of sound stuff. But Turk calls me, hey man, you wanna like join up and play bass with us? We really need a guy. Because our bass player at the time booked up a bunch of stuff, and we're trying to get some shows for those weekends, and we need somebody. And I said, well, who'd you hire on guitar? This guy named Evan Stock. He's great. I said, and I had seen his band before. Didn't know him really, but I was like, I always said to like Travis and stuff, I was like, man, I want to fucking play a show with that guy because his band's playing similar music that I am. So we ended up getting the chance to do that. But he said, oh, Evan Stock. I said, all right, sounds good. I'll be there in 2 weeks.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, I learned a bunch of their shit on bass and I show up and rehearsed, and it was all right. I had to fix some things. But my first show with them in 23 was the Iowa Blues Hall of Fame inductions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was pretty badass. Well, it was the second show. I think we played the night before at Captain Roy's.
Okay, that's pretty awesome too.
Yeah, yep. But yeah, that was like my first weekend actually playing gigs with them was the Iowa Blues Hall of Fame.
That's
Molly's
crazy.
getting inducted, which was badass. I thought, I was like, oh man, that's so sick, and a bunch of people in that band are already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here in Iowa, and so I was really stoked on that, man. I'm dressed up, looking killer, red velvet jacket. I was like,
where do you guys even get these clothes?
I can't remember where I got that jacket, but It was like seriously like in a JCPenney one time.
Good Lord.
I think. And it was red velvet jacket. I was like, oh, dude, that's sick as fuck.
Okay.
But
well, yeah, I do know what you're saying. I either have seen it or have seen you in something that's equally as wild, and somehow you pull it off. So, like, congratulations.
Thanks.
And good job. But maybe that's just not for me.
But no, I just like to look like I'm literally living and breathing in the 1970s, you know, for the most part. But yeah, no, that's all been good. And man, we were busy that year. And like I said, between my band and their band, I was playing every weekend, multiple gigs a week, and it was awesome because I was so good, and my band was so tight. Like, we were playing the best we'd ever played, and it just felt so good, you know, that year. And then last year, we played a couple really good gigs last year too, and you know, I've really wanted to record something. I've been putting it aside. I should have done it, you know, last year, within the last 2 years, because it's like I feel like the last time we talked, it's like, yeah, dude, we're gonna do a fucking album this year.
Yeah, and didn't you guys record some stuff? What happened to it?
Yeah, we've got it out there. I mean, that's if you go to our YouTube, you can find anything that we've done in studio on there. And like one of them, we did one cover. It's a song we always open with called "What You Gonna Do About It," originally by the Small Faces. But that's a killer tune. We did a pretty good job on that, I think. So I was pretty proud of doing a lot of that.
Cool.
We did another cover from a guy out of Cedar Rapids. His name is Bryce Janey.
Okay.
And he's really good. I went to one of his shows one time. He's really good buddies with Bob. And funny thing
Bob,
is,
your drummer.
Yep. Bob, my drummer. Yes. He plays a song called Chrome Horse about motorcycles, and his little tiny bar called Jam O'Malley's. They have blues in tiny place, but you know that they have a blues band every Thursday night. And I go in there one night, and he plays this song, and I walk up to him afterward. I'm like, hey, Bryce, like, I'm gonna go home and learn that song tonight. Can I play that song? And my band, oh, hell yeah, man. So we start playing it. Bob's like, let's record it and send it to him. So we just like, we fucked it up so many times, but we got a good take. And because went like multiple days, like where we'd set up our recording stuff, which really was pretty minimal for the most part. Tube mic for vocals. Travis is over here straight into the deal on bass. I've got a amp or multiple amps mic'd up in another room, and Bob's in another room on the drums. We all got our headphones on and whatever, and we cut that one day, and it was just fucking killer and just straight up live take, you know, and that's what we've been doing lately, and I really like that over before, because we recorded a couple songs of our originals too that I put a backing track to and went back and put lead and vocal on it, and they just don't sound as like, for me it's not really us, you know. It doesn't really feel like I'm, you know, or it's like you don't get that just straight up gritty trio sound because there's a backing guitar rhythm track to it, you know. Even though they sound really good, I really like them, but it's just like, you know, we recorded a couple things just live like that, and I was like, man, this is the only way I want to do it from now on. Yeah. So we got more into doing that, and we do have a lot of live stuff recorded too that we're probably going to put together something at some point and release like a live EP or something. Cool. You know? But that's just all been talked about, not even actually put together. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know where I was going with that, but everything's been good, man. Playing with Molly's fun. Playing, you know, got a couple more. Actually, we're recording. What is today? The 23rd?
Today, yes.
So a week from today, we're playing the Iowa Blues Hall of Fame inductions again, and Turk is getting inducted this year.
Nice.
So that'll be
That's what day?
Sunday.
Sunday. Okay, yeah. So this comes out on the 27th.
The 30th.
Yes.
So a couple days after. Yeah.
Yep. So this comes out on Thursday. So go to that if you guys are listening to this. That's where Vinny's going to be.
Yeah. Yes.
I can totally understand like the burnout from playing shows and stuff like that. It's so weird though, like I don't know. It's a tale as old as time. So like a person does something they love so much that it takes over everything about their like personality and all aspects of their day, to the point where they're just like refute this thing and then push it away, and then they always come back to it.
Yeah.
You know, like think about like anybody that's been like a sports guy that went away and then came back, or like, you know, those are like the easy ones to point out. Or like musicians always do that. They leave and then come back, you know, the farewell tour.
Kiss's 50th farewell tour.
Yeah, so Sunday. But yeah, I mean, that's no different than like what we're talking about here. It's just like this thing where you're like, I still like doing this, but there was something in, you know, it's the burnout, you know, like for people that are trying to get like a perspective on this, like you're playing shows in the Cedar Rapids corridor, let's just say, for the most part, those are your biggest shows, but you live in the Fort Dodge area. So in order to do that, plus rehearsals, plus, you know, all the driving back and forth, let's just call it like a long 2 hours one way, you know,
it's closer to 3 from where I live.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, cause you're on the other side of Fort Dodge. So like that same thing with me. It's like almost 3 hours down there. So like we're talking 3 hour drives, you know, one way. And so that's 6 hours for a day to do a thing, plus being there and doing the thing, and then your time at home. But when you're on the road, you can't rehearse, and then you just like, I feel like you run out of things to do on the road except for like think. And then after a while, it's like, I don't want to do that anymore, you know. And
well, my favorite rehearsal time is playing live shows anyway.
Yeah,
like,
true. Yeah.
You know, Bob always says, nothing like a show to get a band tight, you know. And it's like, that's the way we rolled for a while, too. It's like, I go back. But see, back when I first joined Molly in 23, so I was driving back there every Wednesday to rehearse with both bands, and then getting home late as fuck at night, or staying and driving to work from there.
Oof.
And I was working out of Ames on a construction crew at the time. So I'm driving, no matter what, like 3 hours a day just to go to work.
Oof.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not doing that anymore. I mean,
yeah, what the hell?
Really enjoyed doing construction, and then I blew out my knee and just...
You're just an injury-prone individual over there.
Yeah, that was a dumb little deal I got into, but no, it's been good though, man. I just work a regular job, and 9 to 5, if you will, even though it's more like 7:30 to 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, or later sometimes. But you know, I enjoy that, and it's given me time. But the last couple times I've gone back to play with the guys or with Molly, you know, and rehearsing, it's just been, man, I'm ready to fucking play some more music, you know.
Yeah.
And then when I got this organ I was telling you about before we got this, I was like, this thing's sick, man. I freaking love playing music. You know,
yeah. It's so funny. Like, yeah, I feel like you're one of the people that's like more so than like a lot of people, where you're just like, yeah, I was like on a lunch break and I just got my guitar out and was like, wheelie, wheelie, woo, and then like went home. Like you're went back to work, you know, like I don't do that. I mean, granted, I can't do that because I live far enough away where I can't come home for my lunch break, but still, like, I'm not going to get a guitar out on my lunch break. I'm going to sit there and roll my eyes in the back of my head and decompress for a while, because my job all day is basically being on social media, which at times makes me want to puke, but like,
oh god damn, I can only imagine.
Yeah. I'm a content creator, hooray! But yeah, I don't know. The world needs people like me to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, like, it's so fun that like I see you posting videos like that. We're like, I just kind of learned this song. I just sort of, you know, here, check this out. It's like, what? Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, well, that was one thing, is because like I was saying, you know, for the most part, in Molly Nova and the Hawks, we play like all original. Well, they're like, we should add a couple covers, you know, because we've done a little bit in there. Mm-hmm. But like they're adding a couple Tom Petty songs, like Honeybee's one of them, and that's a sick riff. I was like, man, I'm so glad you guys want to play this song. I've always wanted to play this song, you know. Mm-hmm. And then like Needle in the Spoon they were talking about doing. I was like, I'll go home and learn that again right now. Like, that one. There's another couple Tom Petty songs. Can't remember the one. And then like Breakdown's one of them too. That's well known, you know. So, so that's cool. But yeah, I was pretty stoked when they brought up like wanting to play Honeybee and Needle in the Spoon by Skynyrd, and because I was like, man, Needle in the Spoon is like my favorite Skynyrd song. So
that's a weird one to be your favorite.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe
I just like the riff and whatnot, or the rhythm part to it. But it's a neat tune. So.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about like how you've been in different bands, you know, through time. You know, you got Vinny and the Night Prowlers. That's obviously been the big thing we've talked about for like the previous 6 episodes, I guess, but since then you've been in other bands, you've gone to watch bands live, you kind of like interacted a little bit more with like a different network of musicians than just the Fort Dodge area, and kind of come into your own, and one of the things, you talked about was like, getting burned out playing music, but there's also like things that I don't want to say like off-putting about playing music sometimes, but it's like when you just like I don't know how to describe it, like when you just don't jive with another set of musicians, where you're like, yeah, let's try this out, and you do a thing and you're going for a while, and it's just like it's almost like trying to talk to somebody that has a different dialect of voice, and you're just like the words are all coming across and we're communicating, but I like have to listen harder and like think more to like, it's almost like talking with somebody with like a thick East Coast accent of some, pick a city, and you're just like, what's going on here? Like you're talking to somebody from the South, and you're like, yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but
the fuck did you just say to me?
It's almost like that though, where like, but it's like with music where they're like, well, I'm going, wankity wiggity woo, and you're supposed to do like beebity bobbity bob, and you're like, but I usually go to like a do 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 do, and they're like, well, no, I want beebity bob, and you're like, okay. There's some of that kind of goes on too. Like, have you found like things that are like more difficult in some bands than others like that, where it's just like, in this band, like things, I would have to say like sometimes in bands, it's like, I like it when things are a little bit more free, where there's no structure and you kind of just do what you want. But sometimes like I've been in bands that aren't like that. And it's like, this is also easy too. 'Cause it's like, it's almost like this is when you wake up and this is when you eat food and this is when you go to work. And it's like, everything's already chiseled out for you. You don't have to think.
So, in that aspect, like the part of being in like a cover band that wants to do everything by the book, how it was done, it's like, I don't think that's like not being a musician to me. It is to a certain extent, because you got to be good to nail all that, and nail those parts. And much respect to everybody that's doing shit like that. I'm not gonna talk down about that, because that's its own thing, man.
Oh, it's very hard. It's very hard.
And so you got
to nail the tone and the style of any number of different guitarists.
And that's like when I was in the country band, man, it'd be different if they were playing like older country that I really like, but it was more of the poppy style shit that I really don't like. And I really liked some of the musicians in that band who helped me get better as a musician. Josh Rector is one of those guys. He played fiddle in that band, who is actually in Corey Waller and the Wicked Things now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which is dope.
That's cool.
That I've loved watching them. Shout out to them. They're badass from the area here. Mm-hmm. And then another guy named Matt Lale out of Nashville, and he's like a session keys player. Mm-hmm. And he's got a band called Willie Pearl, and gosh, I can't think of the other band right now, but I dig some of the stuff they're doing. And man, that guy's incredible. Both those guys really helped me, go out of my box that I was, used to, playing the blues,
Yeah.
And so shout out to those guys, because they really helped me improve as a musician. Mm-hmm. And but at the end of the day, it's like, man, I don't want my guitar to sound like that, because that's not the way I play. Mm-hmm. I don't want to play that clean shit that is that you want me to play. I want to play something different, and I just didn't like the music we were playing. So when Turk hit me up, I was already kind of on my way out. I really had just gotten sick of playing in that band. But when Turk hit me up to join Molly Nova, man, then called me again, wanted me to play bass. I was like, fucking. And that's the one thing, is like I showed up for that first rehearsal, and I thought it jived together so well, that I was like, man, yeah, I definitely want to play in your band if you guys will have me. They're like, yep, let's go. And so that was cool. It took a little while to really get used to playing bass like heavily again, but and then my band too, like when Bob first showed up to jam with us, like we played a show the next day and like learned 5 songs that night and just like played in the middle of another band's break.
Nice.
And it just jived right away. And that's back when I was like, I sucked back then. Like, I shouldn't say that, but
nah, you're better than you think you were, but it's compared to now, probably worse.
Fuck, dude. Like it's just light years difference now.
Yep.
And
Which is funny because like even then it's like this is good enough to be passable.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
and not just like only passable, but it's like it's good enough. It's definitely good enough, you know, like back then, which is crazy that there's that big of a gap when it's really the gap's really not that big.
Yeah, and now I can show up and will literally blow faces off. It's like, you know, being a rock band like that. It's like, you know, I get in some places it doesn't really fit the vibe, you know, but I don't care, man. You're gonna get a Vinny and the Night Prowler show when I show the fuck up, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fun, you know. I play loud rock and roll. I saw, you know, Joe Bonamassa said this a while back. He said something like, he was like, yeah, if you're going to play rock and roll, man, you better just get used to it being loud. Because it kind of has to be, but.
True. I will say, I'm getting old, whatever, but like just going into a place and getting absolutely just obliterated by the sound, I'm just like, okay, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like I will have to say that. Like
that's why I only play like certain, like I'm not playing every bar that asks us to play anymore. One, because they don't pay worth a fuck, and so I'm fine like not making any money if I'm not losing money.
That's true.
You know, and but there, like I said again, if I'll you know, if I don't have to set up all our sound and whatever and do that, because it's a whole nother thing. It's like you can be loud, but you can retain some of that with your front of house at the same time, especially when it comes to amp choices. You know, it's like, oh, I'm going to use a 15-watt amp today because it's a small bar. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, you're not going to bring the 100+ water out. And, you know, just blast everyone away.
Oh, yeah, because even like I've got this big old Ampeg. It's a 410. It's 60 watts, and I turned it up to like 10 o'clock. And it's loud, and it does its thing. I mean,
I've seen you play outdoor shows with that.
So, yeah, it sounds beautiful. It's a really neat amp. It's what, like, the Rolling Stones were using in the early 70s with Mick Taylor and the band. Okay. And I think Bad Company used a couple versions of those.
All right.
So, yeah, it's like that killer early 70s rock sound. So it's really nice. They clean up well, and you get that nice punchy in the gut rock and roll tone with it, too. So. Yeah. But that's probably my favorite amp I have. Want to get a couple more, but you know, I'm kind of the point where it's like I've got enough of them. Yeah,
I feel that hurt. You know, it's like you buy a couple of these, a couple of those, and before you know, you're like, I got something to cover everything. I really don't need to buy anything else. You know.
Yep. Yeah. No. I talked with a guy about having him build me a Tweed Pro, which would be like a 5E5A circuit is what it's called. Okay. And it's just so the pros, the supers, and the bandmasters all relatively had the same circuit. Well, a bandmaster has 3 10s in it. The supers had 2 12s, and the pros had a 15. Okay. And say I like my Fender Excelsior has a 15 in it. I really like that. Yeah. So I want to get like an old because that whoever I bought that from. Put a vintage Utah Alnico Blue speaker in it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty dope. I mean, but I'm probably going to get try to find an older Jensen Alnico Blue that would have the style that would have originally came in one of those. Yeah. But man, they're like $400 speakers.
Yeah, just for a speaker.
Fuck.
It's insanity. Oh, man. So yeah, we were talking about like things in bands that like are either like tough to deal with or just like, you know, and I feel like out of like all that story we had just like heard a lot of what I've basically retaining is you kind of just have to be true to yourself. Like if it's something you don't like doing, then you might need to go find something else that's more worth your time, you know, and that even comes down to like picking shows. It's like, is it worth it to drive 3+ hours to make $200 and then you have to buy a hotel room and then when you sit down, you're like, oh, you know, I got paid $1 an hour, and then it's like, well, plus gas, and it's like, oh wait, no, I lost money on that, you know, and then you're just like, oh, this didn't come, you know. So like, if it's something you don't want to do, then you just don't do it, I guess, you know. And I agree with basically everything you said. Like, I've been in bands that are like, we have to play the songs like this, and I've played shows with bands that are just like, we have to play the song like this. There's like no if, ands, or buts, you know. And if you deviate from this, like, you only get this allotted space. And then we're going right back to whatever. So, you know, so like, it's difficult. it's not necessarily what I prefer, and I think a lot of that is just because like when I learned how to play guitar in a basement, it was like goofing around with somebody else, and then when I learned to play guitar like in a band setting was at jam nights with random people, so you kind of just had to you kind of just had to figure it out on the fly, and it's like, how long is this? Like, I don't know, it sounds good now, keep going, I don't care. Like
playing with all you dudes at Barnum like on a weekly basis, a couple years back when I first got into it was like big, huge help for me too, like learning how to play with other people, especially when you have no idea what you're doing. You know, it's like, oh, we're gonna play this song. It's like, cool, I'll figure it out. You know, like
capo's on 4. I'm playing a C shape, and you're like, okay, and you do like a little math. And you're like, okay, all right, I gotcha.
That's playing guitar to me as a math equation.
Yeah,
so like,
honestly, I just see like shapes and relative math. You know, it's like I'm doing this here, and I just really only need to learn it once, because otherwise I just move everything and shift it this way, and the shapes are all the same, just in a different spot on the neck. I don't know. Yeah, which I think that's something like your mind and my mind, I feel like work somewhat similar when it comes to a lot of things, you know, like just generally like music. We both went to an accounting program and graduated from there, and like our minds just have that like analytical, logical number, this thing, you know, like that's just kind of how everything, you know,
quite number oriented.
Yeah, but it's also weird that like our expressive nature that we have is just like, you better not confine me because I might make this solo fucking 30 measures long, you know, like it's like,
I'll kick your ass, dude.
Yeah, like but meanwhile we're just like, no, you see, when you're accounting, when you're for taxes, what the deal is, you know, like it has to be this way, you know. It's kind of weird that there's that contradiction there. But
abolish the IRS.
That was Vince Benyshek. He resides at 123 Main Street.
Oh gosh.
That's awesome. Yeah, so it's cool though that like you found, you know, you just kind of fell in with another band that ended up playing a musical style that you enjoyed, you know. It was like, was that something that was reinvigorating when you were just, instead of, you know, just,
oh man,
because like I said, you were still playing in 2 bands, you know, so you're doing Vinny and the Night Prowlers, other country band, and then you ended up joining up with Molly Nova, so like it still was just ended up being a transference, but like was that like something that changed how you played or how you thought about things, or was that like reinvigorating?
Dude, it was such reinvigorating is a good word. You know, it's so refreshing to be able to, you know, sit there and play music that I like. I really like some of their songs, man. A lot of them. I shouldn't say some, but like a lot of it's just I really dig what they're doing. Mm-hmm. It's their own style too, because Molly plays electric violin. Cool. It's like it's like blues rock band with a electric violin player. Nice. And then Evan, who's just insane. If you guys don't know who Evan Stock is, man, he's got an album out called Nightzilla on anywhere you can stream it. Yep. It's killer. Yes. But it's, you know, it's just playing with the talent. And then Russ Moore is this guy who plays keys in that band, and he's been around a really long time too. Mm-hmm. You know, and he's incredible to play with too. The guy's so good. It's like, it's so funny. Like, I always laugh when I fuck something up on stage. Like, I just kind of laugh at myself. Yeah. You know? And it's like every once in a while I'll hit like a wrong note or something. I just kind of like look over at Russ, and Russ is like looking at me like, "What's up?" Like, I heard that too. I was like, yeah, I would just be laughing, you know.
Dude, those are the jiving with the musicians on stage thing. Like, that's 100% in. Like, I do that sometimes with people. Like, there's certain things in certain songs where it's like I got to joke with the drummer to do this on that song. You know, like, you know, we play like I don't know, like sucking on chili dogs outside the Tasty Freeze, like, is like the funniest thing ever to me. You know, I feel like such a child, like such a whatever zennial or whatever the heck, you know, like, oh, he's sucking on chili dog. But it's funny to me. And I'm like, I always just used to laugh at that, and like Cole will just like hit a little ride ding during it, you know. So there's like stuff like that where it's like, Cole, like, well, knew what I'm going. Like,
that's hilarious, man. And I think it's not really the generational thing. I think that's a musician thing, because like even Turk, man, that guy's sense of humor is great. You know, he says some stuff that he cracks me up, man. And but yeah, man, he was in a band in the 70s called Headstone, and they apparently did a lot of played a lot.
Nice.
You know, and that band got inducted to the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. His brother was in that band. He actually just passed away, so rest in peace. And then another guy, I just had his name in my head from back home. Ron DeWitt was his name, guitar player. I remember being a kid and watching that guy play guitar. Incredible.
Wow.
And he passed, quite a few years back now, it seems, from like pancreatic cancer or something. So rest in peace, that guy too, because incredible musicians, man. Mm-hmm. I never knew this when I joined the band until like Turk goes, man, you knew who Ron DeWitt was one time? Tells me this story about him. I'm laughing. It's fucking hilarious. And but I'm not going to tell that story on here. but I mean, I was like, dude, how do you know who that is? Whoa, he was in Headstone. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's badass. And he gave me a Headstone CD, one of their like compilation CDs they did, from over the years. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's pretty good. They did a killer cover of like Layla on there.
Oh, nice.
And but a lot of original stuff too. And it's pretty cool to be in like a band with a guy like that, or like Molly, and Russ, that have been like in so many different groups over the years. I mean, you're talking like 50 years of playing music. Mm-hmm. Fuck, man, a lot of guys are up here. I look up to, that are like that. I've been playing a really long time, And
yeah, it's wild. Like dude, if you like that kind of stuff, you have to go to the VFW jams in Dakota City, because there's occasions when you go up there and it's just like, there's guys up there, and I'm not trying to like be like they're the old guys or whatever, but it's like this guy's 70 years old, and then you sit down and you do the math, like he's been playing music for 55 years. Yeah. Like I'm not even that old. Yeah. Like I could double my age and still barely have that much music knowledge.
No
like,
shit. Yeah.
And it's just cool to be around those guys, because like those are the guys that are like, they play the bass, and then somebody else gets up to play the bass, and then they like walk off the side of the stage and they like unzip a baggie, and it's like, he's got a mandolin. Like oh my gosh, it's like, it's just so funny to see those kind of people out there, I
did make that jam that one time. I was glad I went out there. I hadn't been to a jam in so freaking long, dude. Mm-hmm. Man, I was like, I had a hell of a time that night with you guys, man. Yeah,
it's fun. Those are always the good ones. There's a lot of those kind of guys that just like, I feel like they're hiding. They don't come out often. And when they do, they usually like hide in like the shady parts of the stage and nobody sees them. It's just like, yeah, you need to come out more, you know? Oh man. Yeah. And meeting up with those guys, playing music with them, it's so fun because they're like absolute professionals, and they've done the thing a million times where they know the look, like, okay, we're coming up to a part, like what's going to happen. And you start like looking, and you just give them the nod, and they're like, okay, I know what to do here. Like I play in a band with Jesse Wilson. We have a fiddle player and a pedal steel player. And it's one of those things where like, we don't always chisel out who's going to do what at certain parts. Sometimes I'll do it. Sometimes somebody else will do it. And sometimes we just like to goof around. Like we played,
it's a free-for-all.
Yeah, we played, River Road, which is one of Jesse's songs, and it was just like, well, I'll play like the riff on the first time through, and then I like turned and I was like, you want to play the riff on the next time? And Taylor's like, sure, and he plays the fiddle, and I like just didn't even have to tell Dave anything. Like the next time he came around, I just looked at him, and he was just like, and I was like, sweet, he knows what he's doing.
Dave's fucking good too, man.
Yeah, they just pick up on it so well. Like those two are absolute professionals when it comes to that kind of stuff, and I love it.
That's one instrument I wish I had the time to take out of and learn, like in depth, and learn, because I love the sound of pedal steel, man, mm-hmm. or steel in general. It's just, even without the pedals, it's badass.
It's oddly like the most diverse music like ever. Like you hear it in like church music, right? Like there's like pedal steel church music. Like if you don't believe, like go look it up. It's actually like a really popular thing. But like in like Western type music, it's in there, but it's in like modern type country music as well. And it's even in like some like island type music too. Yep. That's just like, where doesn't this fit?
Yep.
It's pretty awesome.
Well, and it's like, this isn't a pedal, but there's a guy, God, I can't think of that guy's name, but this is back in like the late 60s, early 70s. There's a band called Juicy Lucy, and this guy played a steel, like the lead guitar player was a steel player in that band, and it's like fuzzed out steel.
Oh, cool.
And even though I don't think he's using a fuzz on it, he's just playing into a cranked up like twin reverb.
Yeah.
Or something like that, or a Marshall.
Yep.
you know, and just, you know, blasting. Wah! You know, it's like slide guitar but on steroids.
Yep.
And I really dig some of their work, but they're like an unknown kind of project.
Yeah, that made me think there was some guy, I could probably look it up, but my phone is not with me right now. So like, it was something to the effect of the guy had like a Telecaster with a slide guitar built onto it, and like would just shred the two things. Like, you know, I'd play some slide guitar and I'd play some, you know, whatever. And I remember that being just like, man, this guy can play it all, you know. And there's a few of those guys, like, again, those were like, you watch TV, and I get it's like whatever, you watch TV shows like that back in the day now, and you're like, this is old timey and kind of dumb. But then you like look at some of the guys playing music, like, it's just like these people are just absolutely shredding sometimes on instruments where it's like they don't have the benefit of compression and like all these things that we have nowadays, you know, to zhuzh it up and make it sound as good as possible and play as little more effortlessly. They're actually like out there doing the hard playing.
Yeah, and their compression pedal was the volume knob.
Volume knob, yeah. Oh, we just turn it up more.
Yeah.
All right. Get the like clear shield of shame.
Yeah.
They put out in front of it.
But yeah, no, there's just some of that stuff. I think maybe one of the people you're probably thinking of is like Junior Brown as a guy. He plays guitar and steel. Scott Dahl would know who that is.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, Travis is a big fan of Junior Brown too. But yeah, like, gosh, he just played with Dale Watson down in Texas or something.
Okay.
So that was pretty sick too, because Travis is a big fan of that guy too. But yeah, no, they're just, you know, you get a B bender or something on a Telecaster too. It just makes it a whole different instrument.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like Marty Stewart is one of those guys who does a lot of that, and
I've been super intrigued by that, and I keep thinking, like, I have a Telecaster, whatever shaped guitar. I keep thinking about doing something weird, just modding the crap out of it and doing something like that to it. But it's like,
I don't want to do that to mine because my Esquire is just so cool how it is.
Yeah. Oh, leave that thing alone for sure. Go buy another one and start dinking with it. Yeah, that thing is sweet. Esquire for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been playing that with Molly in Molly Nova's band. Molly Nova and the Hawks, man. That's my main guitar. I use my Excelsior. And and it's like, don't have to get it too loud, you know, because you got that, it's like a 13-watt amp. Mm-hmm. It's like, turn it up about halfway, and that's all you need with that guy, and just let it ride.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Like, my guitar amp is like, out of 12 is like almost never above 3 or 4. It's just a 20-watt amp. I almost never play clubs where it needs to be any louder unless there's no microphone situation, which is crazy because then you just put it on a stand and turn it up to 6 out of 12, and it's like, oh, now it's plenty loud for any bar I've ever been in. You know, like,
roll your volume back on your guitar a little bit, and you get the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think about that, like volume control. I don't know. I was at a show last night, and Mark Gale's previous guest, he was running sound, and we talked about that on his episode, like having proper volume control. But that was something, when I was at the show, I'm like, this is enjoyable to sit out here because I don't have to sit and like yell to the person next to me about anything, but I can still hear everything very clearly, you know. And I don't know, running sound is so tough. But
yeah, well, that's one thing too. It's like, man, I love Melting Faces. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's why I like try to play certain venues. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, you know, I'm not going to play every bar because half the people are going to get pissed and leave.
Yeah, if it's a bar like the size of the room we're in right now, it's just like, okay.
And so it's like, you know, you weigh that on and whatever, and it's not that we suck, it's just that it's loud, you know, it's just loud. Mm-hmm. And there's no way to not be some sort of loud, and especially like, you know, what is your room made out of? You know, the acoustics of your room will have a big deal, you know, when it comes to volume and
do you
sounds.
have things on the wall or not, or you know.
exactly. And so it's there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, man. But I don't know, for the most part I just kind of let it roll, you know. I don't take my big amps into a small little place or whatever. And
I don't want to just abandon all of my 4x12s, but I have not brought one anywhere for ages. Like
it's just a lot to haul around too.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's not, whatever. It's just one extra trip compared to like But at the same time, like if I have a 2x12 or a cab and an amp, any sort of separate, I'd have to make the 2 trips anyways, or carry them one in each hand. Or
to be honest, like I bought that 212 cab off you a couple years ago now, and like I just like it because you're not putting as much space when you're hauling it. You know, depending on how much gear you have in your trailer or your vehicle or whatever.
Yep.
So it's just ease of use at that point too. So like I've played that at a few gigs with my big amps. But like that Bugera I have is so loud, but it's got the master on it. But you really don't even like. I like to run them. I found out like you don't have to crank your amp to get those tones. You have it at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, still plenty loud. But you add just like a clean boost or something, like a boost pedal in front of it.
Yep, push it in the front end.
Yeah, and you get a little bit more of that grit and at a lower volume. And so that's helped quite a bit when I figured out how to. I mean, it took me years to figure out, well, how do I get this amp to sound like this, but not like give me a headache after playing it for 5 minutes.
Yeah, instead of making all the sound. Instead of putting a magnifier glass on the sound on the back end, you put it in the front end before it even gets in there. Yeah, basically. So,
and that's the thing. Is like, I'm not a big pedal guy. Like, I'd much rather just run, like, if I'm doing my thing, I got like a reverb. I got a Phase 90 that I like to kick on every once in a while. And then my wah pedal. And then some sort of boost, after that. But, it's just really all I roll with. But in Malanova, I'm just straight in. I just go straight into my amp, and
I don't mind going straight in anymore either. Like just from so many jam nights, like the pedal board's just like a safety blanket.
Yeah,
it's like
you could get more out of it. That sounds. If you slap a delay on there, it does some of the stuff you want it to do, the tones you want. So. Yeah.
Here's a little pro tip for anybody that like if you do have pedals or something, and you're like, what are they talking about clean boost, and you want to try something. So like, way you could do it would be to like. Turn your reverb or chorus or like any of those types of pedals, and you basically just turn the regeneration thing like off on it. So you just have like everything is the lowest it'll go except for the output, and then you can just turn that up, and that's essentially kind of like a boost.
Yeah, we'll boost it. My reverb actually does that. If you click it on, it's just a slightly more compressed thing.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I have like a chorus pedal I do that with. In there, but yeah, so it's like that's kind of a way you can go through and boost stuff with the pedals if you want to try it, and you don't have like a whatever booster pedal, you can just dink around with that and try it that way. But so yeah, we were talking about like going on the road, doing all this other stuff. You're doing a lot of traveling. I'm not a stranger to traveling and doing that stuff either. I understand, yes, it weighs on you, but there are some fun things you find on the road. So like an example for me would be like there used to always be like. When I would go to Des Moines and back, it's like, well, this one fast food place is always open and like almost always like most hours of the night even. So like I'll go there and I'll get some food there or whatever. Or like there was always like one gas station on my way home. I'll stop there and I'll get a coffee before I go, or like something like that. There was always a couple of places I would stop. Are there any places like that for you, like going on the road where you're just like, gotta have a Whopper or whatever the hell it is,
There's the halfway point in between like Cedar Rapids. I call it the halfway point. It's not exactly, but it's the closest you can get off of 20. The Parkersburg exit. There's like a big truck stop there with an Arby's, whatever.
Oh yeah. There's like a BP or whatever it is. Yeah.
If it's still open, I'll stop there.
Yeah.
Good spot to stop. But I don't really know, man. That's a really good question. Yeah, it depends on where I'm at, really. What's around. I like to stop at like mom and pop, like diners.
Oh yeah,
that's
for sure.
That's my thing. Like I don't really like. Well, I like fast food, but like I would rather like go to some mom and pop diner because.
Yeah, anymore. Like this is almost gonna sound so privileged saying this. Woo, look out! But like, you go to a fast food place. Like I feel like I'm waiting like. 15 minutes anywhere I go, regardless of what I order. It's 30% of the time it's wrong anyways.
Yeah.
I'll just go sit in a place. I'll wait 15 minutes. I'll get my food. It'll be the same price. It'll taste better.
Yep.
I'll talk to somebody. It'll always come out right. Like,
Yep.
I don't know.
That's my favorite thing too. I shouldn't say favorite thing, but the fast food used to be like cheaper.
Yeah, almost. But it's not
and now
anymore.
Now you're paying for like an actual meal at like some restaurant. It's like, that's why it's like, sit down at a little mom and pop diner. For example, there's this place. Oh man, I'd have to Google it. It's in Missouri Valley, Iowa, right off the highway. There's all these like the truck stops and whatever, a McDonald's right there, a hotel, and right behind this hotel is this like shiny aluminum, like 50s style diner.
Cool.
Amazing food, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Like every time I go through there, I'm stopping at that place.
That's awesome.
And oh yeah, that place is so good. And it's like, $10, $15 for a meal. You get it relatively quick. And it's, whereas I'm spending that same thing at a McDonald's or something, $10, $15 for a meal, and it's garbage food for you. It's like for the most part, it's so bad for you. But like, and sometimes you got to wait or whatever. And it's like, I'll spend the extra 10 to 15 minutes in that place that's, locally owned and whatever. And, I don't know. I like places like that, man.
Yeah, I don't want to act like I've never eaten fast food, and I don't eat fast food, because I do eat fast food, and I've been through a lot of places. But yeah, I totally understand like the desire to go somewhere where like the personal touch seems to possibly be there a little bit more. Like, I was thinking to myself, like, is McDonald's the worst fast food restaurant? Because like, I really don't like it. Like, I would honestly go to
fan either.
Like, I would honestly go to like a Burger King or something first, or whatever, or Wendy's or whatever. Wendy's for sure.
Yeah,
but like,
I like Wendy's.
But I could just go down and name a handful of them. It's like McDonald's would be bottom of the list every time, but it's still like they've sold 99 billion burgers or whatever. It's like,
yeah.
But are they actually like a fast food company at this point? Or are they just a real estate company?
Yeah.
Like, wasn't there a documentary on that? I believe
that's a good. Yeah.
I like they're the most successful real estate company of all time.
Yeah, they own a lot of real estate.
Yeah. I'd also heard something like the average McDonald's lasts less than, like, there's no McDonald's over 30 years old, like, really? Anywhere. And they'll knock them down and just, like, build them all from scratch. They won't remodel buildings.
That's crazy.
Like, that's freaking wild.
Yeah, that's called having too much money.
Yeah.
You got so much money. Yeah. Fuck refurbing the place. Let's just knock it down and build a new one.
Yeah, just dig a hole, push it all in, pave it flat, and we'll start over from there.
Well, that's why they all look like shit these days too. When we were growing up, or younger, they were all colorful and stuff. Now they're just gray bricks.
Yeah, true. I mean, I guess I never really thought of that either. Like, they're making cars all out of plastic and they all look the same and yada yada. It's like, yeah, I guess, but they're not made to last forever. But back in the day, cars were made to last forever. They made them out of metal and they looked all cool and stuff. And same thing with buildings. I never really thought of it like that. We're just talking a longer time span. Instead of like 10 to 15 years compared to 30 or 40, we're talking 30 or 40 compared to 100 plus, you know? Okay, yeah.
And that's another thing, man. I love the old cars. I mean, that's the one thing. It's like, like I told you before we started, it's like, I like to be like a living, breathing embodiment of what the 70s would have looked like. It's been in my music too, and so I, it's got the longer hair, kind of look crummy for the most part.
Crummy. That's like the funniest adjective ever. Oh my gosh, I would never like.
Kind of live a little crummy too, you know what I'm saying? Come on.
That's hilarious. Oh, we fit that in there. If Bird Dog's listening, he'll love that. That's hilarious. So like that fits into something else too, like I feel like that's part of marketing a band. Like you have a look to you, which I feel like helps market you as a musician or you as like a band person, like it's easy to identify you just based on the way you look, because you look separate. I had said this in one episode, and it was like the musicians that are in a band dress the way they dress to show that like they are separate from the people that are in the crowd. It's kind of like the teacher wears a suit because they're not a student, and that's how you know that there's like this decorum, or is that the right word, of like this like pecking order almost, like we're on stage, we look like this, we're in the band, and it's like to me it would be a costume, but to you it's just like everyday. stuff, you
Yeah,
know?
oh yeah, it's like I wear my
Suspenders.
and
Yeah, that was
shit
like the one thing I was
every
going to
day.
Yeah. It's like, well, he's wearing suspenders right now. For anybody on audio.
Yeah, it's like just what I wear,
Yeah, just
around.
plaid and suspenders and
Yep.
khaki pants.
And yeah, that guy, I love the khaki pants, man.
I went through a khaki phase for a long time.
But yeah, these are Wranglers. Actually, they're 100% cotton.
Oh, cotton dockers, ladies and gentlemen.
But what I like to like, speaking of that, it's like I have these like pressed polyester pants, like straight up out of the 70s look that I wear to almost every gig.
That's hilarious.
They used to be dark. I had some dark pairs, and now I've got some lighter pairs, and I really like that shit. Wear my boots or whatever too, and
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I went through like phases of this before I had like public facing jobs that were like, I shouldn't do this, but I like went through like and had like the different facial hairs and stuff, and you've done that too.
Yep.
Like, just I maybe I'll put it in here if I want to do the extra work, but like, just go back through and look at the selfies on all the old episodes of Vinny's. Like, your hairstyle changed, your facial hair changed on every single episode, whether or not they were like 6 months apart or a year apart. It was freaking hilarious.
Yeah, well, and especially it's like when I had my really long hair, I showed up to a place and they're like, the people would look, it's like, you must be the band.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Dude, that's so funny. I show up places with Jesse or whatever, or like if we're playing somewhere, I'll show up early and I'll be like, yeah, I'm with Jesse's band, and there's like, you security? And like, I get that. I've seriously have gotten that like 4 or 5 times, like showing up, and it's like, especially if Jesse's in the room, I'm like, look at him and look at me. Like, the only thing I'm doing is stopping bullets. Like, at best, like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just absorbing kicks to the face.
Jesse is a large man.
Yeah, he does not need me for security.
But what's funny too about that is, like, for those of you that don't know Pete, that might be listening, that know me, you're a fairly bigger dude too.
Yeah.
And we've got some good stories about back in the day, but it's kind of funny. Like, I've always been a smaller guy. So it's like, gosh damn, if I get in a fight, I'm probably getting hurt. But I'm to try to inflict as much pain as possible.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You and I actually do have some fun stories. I don't actually know if we told this one ever on the podcast before. We're getting really close to the end here anyways on the hour. So like, you actually tried out for the punk band that I'm in, Three Finger Betty. I don't know if we talked about that on this, but
I don't know if we ever did.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember. So if we did already, fast forward, whatever. But like, so we tried out for that. We're going to get some food. We park in a parking lot. We're walking across the parking lot, and I just basically go, ah. And when I say that, I notice that this car is coming, and it just blasts into Vinny
at a high rate of speed through a parking lot.
Going literally like 30 miles an hour through a parking lot.
They were probably going faster, but then saw me and tried to slow down a little bit, but didn't try hard enough.
Yeah.
That guy fucking smoked me, dude.
Yeah, and so Vinny goes up and over the dash, like over the windshield, basically.
I landed on my feet too, didn't I?
For the most part, yeah. You like tumbled off the back side of the car, and it was just like, what the crap, and...
this guy just keeps going.
Yeah. And Vinny's like, well, let's do this band rehearsal thing. I'm not hungry anymore. And it's like, all right. So we go to the band rehearsal, and we were done. The craziest thing, like, if you're watching, like, his picking hand that he was using is the one that got broken, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, that one, like, the knuckles were, like, in, like, dimples in his hand now. They were just indentations. And everything that was the back side of his hand was, like, about a half an inch to an inch higher than the rest of his hand. It would just, it looked like somebody like just tied off your wrist and just blew it up.
Fucking softball or something.
Dude, it was crazy. We ended up, going back home, and you got it all fixed up and stuff. But that was
I'll never forget
ordeal.
that. I'll never forget that because like this guy like keeps going and stops like almost at the end of the parking lot, and then Big Pete stands up. What the fuck, man? Yeah. And then he just probably saw Big Pete and was like, I'm fucking out of here.
Yeah, just like stomping towards him. Like, what is this? You guys get that guy's license plate number. I'm like, yelling at you, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he just keeps on going. It's like, fuck you, man.
Yeah, that was absolute garbage. And it was just,
was either drunk or didn't have insurance or something. But the car was nice enough that you'd think that he did.
So the place we were at was like on the corner, like a busy corner, and people would go through this parking lot because it's a very big parking lot. Think like half the size of a Walmart parking lot. It's pretty big, but people would pull into this parking lot, cut all the way across this long strip mall, and then
to miss the light,
to avoid the light.
Yeah.
And that's what this person was doing, and they weren't paying attention, and ran into Vinny.
Fucking smoked me.
Yeah, so that's one Vinny story I got. I mean, there's a few out there and stuff, but
that one's a good one though. So I hope nobody fast forwarded through that, because that was but
Yeah.
it was so cool too, because we like show up to jam, you know, and I'd taken the time to learn these songs or whatever. And they're like, dude, you know, everybody's looking at my fucking hands all fucked up.
yeah, it keeps getting bigger like every song.
Yeah, they're like, are you sure you want to play, man? I'm like, dude, okay, what's more punk rock than getting hit by a fucking car before the rehearsal, before my audition, really, is what it was.
Yeah.
Breaking my hand and then coming in here and just fucking, you know, jamming. You know?
Yeah. There is something. So that rehearsal audition, there was like a song that nobody had learned. And John had just like, I wrote this song, let's see what happens. And we like still play that song to this day. And I still think about like the first time we played this song, you were like the person playing on bass. Is pretty funny. So,
Nice.
yeah, I don't know. Like I got a couple other things here. So like, the last thing I think I'm going to go out on here is like, so favorite guitar gear. Like we talked a little bit about like, oh, I like using these things, or I like using those things, or whatever. Like obviously you and I both have like more than one guitar, or more than one amp, or more than one pedal or something. But like, isn't it weird that we find like, I like using this,
Yeah.
and it's just like, we just choose this, you know, and it's like whatever it happens to be. Even like in a different band, in my band, I like to use this. In that band, I like to use this. And it's just like this thing that's, I don't know if it's like a safety blanket, or if it's like, this is part of the outfit that I wear, or like what it is. Do you have any of that? Or like, do you think that's weird at all? Because like some people are just like, I don't care, I'll just play whatever.
Yeah, no, like I kind of already said that about like Molly. I play my Esquire in Molly Nova, and then like I would not play that in the Night Prowlers though, because the tone is just so different that I get with my Gibsons, you know. Which is, I played my Les Paul Studio so much, it's actually starting to fall apart now. Like,
really?
tuning peg broke off of it, so
wow.
I'm going to buy new tuning pegs for it. Just the same ones, basically, but I'm going to turn all of it. I'm going to put new pickups in it. Because it's got one of those boards in it.
Oh, yeah.
So I've talked about this before, but I'm going to put, like, probably new pots in it. I get new pickups. And maybe, like, get some 57 classics and get like the cream, you know, plastic pieces that go on them, and put like, I'm gonna get like one of them. My neck pickup will be the gold one. Okay. And then I think I'm gonna just, because I left the cover on my neck pickup of my Les Paul. I took off the cover, the nickel cover, off my bridge pickup. But I'm gonna put like a zebra stripe 57 classic in the bridge, I think, and just
cool.
put the gold tuning pegs on it too. So, but yeah, no, that's what I've been thinking about lately. I was like, well, it's probably about time to. It's probably gonna change the tone a little bit, you know. But whatever, I'm gonna put like 50s wiring in the thing and do it that way. But you know, I'd say about like I can get that. What I'm looking for out of any of the guitars I'm playing, it's just easier to get that tone with the Gibsons and the Night Prowlers. You know, it's more of a, I would say, like a mid-rangey thing, you know, and you know, the creaminess of the humbuckers versus a single coil or something like that, you know. And then you know, because it's like I've got my really nice 335 custom shop, and I play that a decent amount, but there's just something about that beat up Les Paul, man, that just like has always kept chugging for me. And it's easier too. It's smaller, you know. That 335 so huge.
Yes.
And it's just so nice that it's like I hate taking it out. And like I play a lot, and it's like gonna be my studio guitar for sure. But because it sounds they are a little bit different. You get a little bit more of that feedbackiness with the semi hollow body. It's a really nice guitar. I actually need to restring that thing and intonate it. But I really like that one. But yeah, they're about 50-50. You know, I've usually take both those guitars to every Night Prowler show and use one or the other. And it just depends on which one I want to use that night, you know. So that's just kind of, I'm not too picky when it comes to that, because they've got the same style going. They're just a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, and then, you know, we kind of talked about pedals and stuff. Like when I'm running my stuff, like my pedal board's back by my amp. Like I'll run a cable out to my wah pedal that's right in front of me. And I'll run a long cable to my tuner back up on my board. And it's like my tuner, it goes tuner, my boost, phaser, reverb, and then amp, and that's what I do. But I just, because I leave my reverb on the whole time. And then, like, if I want to do some spaced out kind of like Hendrixy style or like Robin Trower-esque tones, I'll kick on that phaser, and it gets that really cool thing going, and that it does knocks it in and out of phase or whatever they're doing. But it's kind of how I roll. I just nothing else. I sometimes every once in a while I have this Vox like Steve Vai delay that's really cool. It makes some really cool sounds and whatever. But if I've got that on there, I usually like don't have my phaser on there, or something, because they're making kind of, I use it as the same, sort of thing. It's making like a spaced out sound, So, but no, I don't know. When it comes to gear, I'm pretty set on what I use live for different things. And after I got that Esquire, I started using it in Molly Nova, and it's like, that's the cleaner sort of thing. We're playing the bluesy stuff, and it does certain things dynamically different than a Gibson would. So it's just kind of why they just sound. It's the sound for me. It's the sound I'm going for, and that's where I'm gonna choose my gear from. Now I can usually make an amp sound how I want it to sound by messing with the tones and stuff, the dials and stuff. So I use a variety of amps, just whatever amp I feel like taking that day. So, but it's like I'm really, I always thought I was like, I'm a big Marshall guy, and then I grew up and realized, well, I'm actually like a Fender Tweed guy. That's because they are different. They sound different.
Oh, yeah.
But you can always sort of get in that ballpark of what you want it to sound like.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, I look at some of that stuff and it's like, there is a difference between, like, say, like a Marshall and a Fender and a Vox and whatever, your PV, and you go down the line. There is a difference, but like the difference is, generally speaking, nobody hate me, it's generally negligible. It's usually pretty small, but it's like you can draw more comparisons between certain things and other things. So like a Marshall is more similar to like a PV, like high gain amp, than it would be to a Fender. And a Fender is more similar to a Vox than it would be to a PV or a Marshall. So there are certain things that they do certain things better certain ways or whatever.
Or cleaner, depending on what you're going for. Like, you might want, because, if you have a high headroom Marshall, it's gonna have like a nice clean glassy tone if you're not turning it up past a certain amount. And you can kind of get a Fenderish, like black face Fender tone out of it to a certain extent. Now, like you said, it's almost negligible, the difference in the sound, but most people that are listening, that aren't musicians, don't know that.
They don't know, they won't know, they don't care, they won't care, can't tell, won't tell.
But like for me it's big for me, like, hey, this is what I want, exactly how I want to do it. And that's kind of how I roll with it,
I feel like that kind of stuff's almost like a car. Like, my car goes and your car goes, but if I got in your car and you got in my car, you'd be like, these brakes are different and the gas is different, but I'm used to it, so I like it.
Yep.
So like those are the things where I feel like most of it's in the user, the person using it. It's like, I feel a certain way when I play this, or I feel like when I play these notes, they come out the way I want them to come out, better or differently or whatever, in this amp more so than that amp, or I prefer it this way or that way or whatever, so some of that is just based on the preference of the person.
Yeah, and I guess one of your questions was, do you find it weird, that people have their certain deals? And no, not at all. Like especially as a musician looking at it, it's like, I don't think it's weird for somebody to be like, I'm playing this out of, and it's kind of like you were talking earlier before we started this deal about some of your guitars you use. And it's like I'll be using my Les Paul, which is like the fifth of the price of my 335, but it does that sound almost the same, and it's set up. If you have a guitar that's set up well, and set up as an intonated, the frets are nice, and you have the action where you like
want it. Yep.
Yeah, because everybody
likes
has their different deal.
Some people like it high, some people like it real low.
Yep, and I like it low for the most part, pretty low.
Yeah, I like it. Whatever the lowest is, go just a little higher.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there are sometimes like I'll show up and, because your neck length, like from a Fender to a Gibson is different.
Yep.
I find myself when I first got that Esquire, like just like I'm messing up some stuff and I'm like so not used to it, because it's pretty negligible to somebody who doesn't know how to play guitar or that's
or even like where the bridge is set on the body compared to like where the cutaways are, etc. Like makes all the difference in the world, and even something dumb like this is where the strap pegs are, like on an SG. I'm like, I'm not playing this thing because it wants to roll forward and tip.
Well,
like I just hate it. It's like, no, put it on the horn, and then when it's on the horn, it looks stupid. So it's this big thing. I don't know. Different gear is weird. I've fallen into like playing the same stuff over and over again. To most shows, and like to argue the point, like I play like literally like $150 used Junko guitar with 3-finger Betty most of the time. Like
the Epiphone that you've dipped.
Yeah, like 99 times out of 100
cool
I will
guitar,
play that. Yeah, I will play that one. And it has more sentimental value than anything. Like than anything, and that's I play it because I like it and it fits the purpose and it works, and I change some pickups and that's what makes it sound better, and then that's just the end of the story. But like I'm not gonna. I have a backup guitar that's worth, like you said, almost 5 times as much, and it's like I'm not gonna play that. Like why? It's like I don't need to. I like this one better, and it's funny because like for that, it's like 3-finger Betty. It's a cheap guitar. It's made out of cheap wood. It's light, so I can actually move around a lot easier than if it was played, made with, thicker, heavier wood, more dense. That would make the instrument weigh more or whatever. So which I have, some of those as well. And there's certain places where playing the heavier guitars I'm okay with, and other ones where I'm like, I'm not going to play a heavy guitar at this show,
Well, and that's it too, is a lot of it's just feel, it's like I really, for the most part, would rather play my Les Paul live than my 335 because it's so big, we kind of talked about that earlier, but I don't want to also beat up my 335 because it's such a nice guitar and it's worth so much that if you looked at my Les Paul, like the whole back of it, the paint is gone.
Oh, wow.
Like it's not the whole, but it's for the most part. And then even the neck from just playing it, the paint on the neck is just bare wood now.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool. And that looks cool. There's people that pay thousands of dollars, for the Murphy Lab guitars. It's like if I bought a brand new guitar for that much money, like I want it to look new.
Yeah.
Like then I can make it look like that over time.
You know?
Like
I understand the appeal of it, but it's also like I don't need somebody else to put scratches and dings in it, so when I put one in there, I don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Because that's basically all I look at it as. Like, it does look cool, though, when somebody uses an instrument to the point where it's like, oh, this thing's wearing out.
Yeah, and that's why I like, I bought that Les Paul new, and I'm the only one to ever own it, and I've put every fucking ding onto that thing. And it kind of makes me proud, myself. It's like, man, I've been a long way now. I've only been playing music for 5 or 6 years or whatever. But, it's like, damn, we've been a long way together.
Yeah,
guitar.
me and old Ethel. Been through a lot of games together.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Well, shoot, we went over an hour. All right, well, that's cool. That's basically all I got for you. I just had a bunch of other nonsensey kind of fun questions. I just wanted to sit down and catch up with you again. It's, even though we are pretty good buddies, we do keep a decent amount of communication with one another. It's not like we're typical guys. Like we'll message each other every 3 months and be like, "Oh, hey, I saw this," and then 5 days later, the other person will be like, "That's neat," and then. We'll just be like, hey, we should do this sometime. Like, okay, and then it doesn't happen. Like,
yeah, I know. It's like, fuck,
it's
man.
That being an adult thing. Everyone always joked about it. It's like, oh, well, no, that's actually true. So.
Yeah, it's like you run out of time for stuff, kind of like this podcast.
I'm sorry, we're out of time, and end it. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so if anybody wants to check out any of the Vinny stuff, Vinny and the Night Prowlers links are down below. Molly Nova links will be down below as well. Those are the 2 projects you're in right now, correct?
Yeah.
Old episodes with Vinny in it. Number 24, 46, 103, 133, 179, 204, and now 245. So pretty awesome. Vinny's been you've been on 7 episodes. I don't know if this is the most anyone's been on here. It's probably between you and Clint, honestly.
Clint,
but yeah, dude. All I gotta say is thanks for coming on, joining the podcast, hanging out, talking for a while. It's nice to catch up with you, and hopefully everybody else got a glimpse into all this stuff too. Because there's a lot of stuff we talked about I didn't even know. And now everybody knows.
Well, then one more thing before we go too. The podcast had a little bit of a hiatus.
Yeah, it did.
And it sucks. The one thing that sucks most about being a musician is not being able to go see the other musicians that you want to see when they're around.
Mm-hmm.
And around the time you decided to stop doing this for a while, like I went to there are so many shows I went to and saw people like, hey man, why is Peter not doing this? Like Matt Woods was the first guy who he brought it up to me. He goes, did Peter decide to not do his podcast anymore? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I think he's taking a break or something. He goes, man, I hope it's not permanent. You need to get on his ass because it's a good thing. It's cool. It's cool. And I was like, Matt Woods, I'm a big Matt Woods fan.
Oh yeah,
but
I freaking love Matt Woods.
Yeah, hell of a guitar player.
Yeah, went and saw him a couple months ago over Byron's.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I wish I would have been to that one.
Yeah, I guess I'm surprised you weren't. Maybe you didn't know about it. I should have said something, but.
Oh yeah, I was probably busy.
Yeah. All figures. Yeah.
So,
no way.
Was he with himself, like his own band, or was that with
Arbuckle was there?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, it was freaking awesome.
Hell yeah. Was it the whole Damnation's band? Or?
Yeah. Nice. He had a band with him. Yeah.
Those guys kick fucking ass.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. So like.
Yeah, I'm disappointed I missed that one.
I
do know what you're talking about. I wasn't able to make that.
Yeah. They did this thing where they went everything down to like basically acoustics. Like Matt was playing the hollow body electric with like nothing coming out the amp, so everyone had to just typical Byron had to shut the fuck up and listen. Yeah. And it was really cool because like the harmonica was being played acoustically and the drums were just like.
Yeah, got the brushes out.
Yeah, just barely tapping along. It's like it's sweet. Yeah, fun stuff. Yeah, good stuff at Byron's. Check that episode out. I think that was the last episode that came out as well. So, yeah, all the links down below. Vince, gotta love it. Thank you very much for joining the podcast again.
For sure, brother.
We'll see you next time.
Good to see you. Yeah.
There you go, episode 245. Thanks for stopping by, Vince. It's fun to hear about this stuff. He's been on the podcast 6 times before this, and but it's still been a couple years. How long has it been? Yeah, 2.5 years since he's been on the podcast. So a lot's happened in 2.5 years, and it's pretty wild. It's one of my favorite things about doing repeat guests is things change, and sometimes people are out there just still grinding and working hard and trying to play music with anybody and everybody. And it's nice to, it's always been refreshing being around Vince because he just kind of like, he likes what he likes and he's open to liking other things. And if it's not his jam, he just does what he likes, and I respect him for that, and it's one of my favorite things. Goes out, joins some bands, realizes it's not his style, goes out, tries a different one, and it's what he likes to do. So more power to him. So that's basically the moral of this story is go out and find what you like and go out and enjoy that, just like Vince is doing. So I'm going to have links down below for Molly Nova and also Vinny and the Night Prowlers, which is awesome. I love the fact that they're still out there playing shows. And you got to go check Vince out live somewhere. He's such a fun guy. He's such a character. So thanks for stopping by, Vince. And thank you again to the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association for sponsoring the episode. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate just what you do for the musicians and the artists in the area around you, and I wish more communities had a thing like that. I'm sure they do. There are like arts councils around, but I guess maybe I'm more impacted by what you guys are doing. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Make sure you check out their podcast, FDT. Again, it's on its own channel now. The new episodes will all come out on the new channel. It's very easy to find. Just look FDT. Or go to their YouTube. Check out their YouTube channel. There's video versions of it, and every video is fun. It's in a new location, and it's like kind of showcasing the place a little bit. Like check out this place we're in, check out that place we're in, and you never know where we're going to be next. It's just so fun. So FDT, I'm like the sidekick on that podcast. I sit next to Shelly while she asks questions. I might get one or two in. And it's just fun to be around while they're doing what they're doing. So check out that podcast. I'm also there. And also, if you're looking for anything to do with Audible Farm, the links are down below. Subscribe, like, share. Thank you for watching if you're watching, and if you made it this far, then thank you for listening. All right, everything else is audiblefarm.com. It's easy to find, easy to know, easy to say. Check it out. All right, peace.